This is a phone you probably didn't have on your radar, also because Motorola didn't really announce it with a lot of fanfare. But let me tell you, you sure should. This is my Moto Edge 30 Pro review. The design of the Edge 30 Pro doesn't differ too much from its predecessors. And to be honest, it really isn't that special. It's your standard glass sandwich with a very dark smoky blue aesthetic. What I appreciate though is that it's a lot more rounded than its predecessor, making the feel in the hand much better. The glass also has a soft touch feel to it. What I cannot overstate is how much the build quality and just general premium feeling of this device has improved. Moto phones have long suffered from loose buttons, a weird weight distribution and cheap vibration motors. None of that is the case here. The phone isn't too heavy, it has very firm buttons, and the vibration motor is finally on a level with other flagship phones, with a more tactical thump rather than the rattly mess that I've been bemoaning for the longest time. What is also back is stereo speakers. Those were incomprehensibly missing from the Edge 20 series. The power button placement also returned to a more usable position, and the integrated fingerprint sensor is fast and reliable. What the Edge 30 Pro unfortunately still doesn't have is an IP certification for proper water resistance, rather than just some raindrops. The Edge 30 Pro has a display about which you probably cannot complain. It's a 1080p 144Hz OLED panel with P3 10-bit color. It also has way slimmer bezels than last time around, which finally makes for an appearance up to par with other flagships. There's a small hole punch at the top for the selfie camera as well. The panel also does get pretty bright enough to see it in direct sunlight for sure, but it isn't quite as capable as the panels Samsung uses in its newest phones. That's probably just something I noticed coming from those devices though. Performance is one of the biggest strengths of the Edge 30 Pro. If you think you've already experienced the fastest interface there can be, think again. This phone features Qualcomm's latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, and paired with 12GB of RAM, the 144Hz display panel, and stock Android, this phone just flies. Apps launch instantly and stay in RAM forever. Every scrolling gesture just feels like butter. I also haven't had any weird software hitches that could take away from the speed. I also had none of the reception issues that I've had with the Edge 20. If you want a phone that runs the newest version of Android even quicker than a Pixel, this is probably it. Other manufacturers like OnePlus have long abandoned their commitment to stock Android, making this phone one of the last phones to run a nearly unaltered version of Google's operating system other than their own Pixel phones. And you'll be surprised how similar this version of Android 12 is to a Pixel. Most of the features and interface design you get there is present here too. All of the additional features there are live inside one inoffensive app that allows you to set up smart gestures like twisting to turn on the camera or chopping to activate the flashlight, as well as various other customizations. You can change the interface colors or icon shape and also control things like Motorola's Peak display. Though I wish that it was just always on and wouldn't just activate when you get a new message or tap the screen. I appreciate these small additions, but they're out of the way if you don't need them. The settings menu and all of the apps are completely stock, and again this has a huge impact on performance. Everything is just so buttery smooth that I find myself scrolling up and down lists just because it feels so good. The only problem with all of this is that Motorola doesn't give an update guarantee and wasn't that fast with updates in the past. What I also didn't expect is how great Motorola's ready-for desktop interface has gotten. You can just plug the phone into a USB-C monitor, like you would your laptop, or connect it to a TV via Miracast, and you get a full desktop-like experience that feels really polished. You can either connect a keyboard and a mouse, or just use the phone itself as a multi-touch trackpad, complete with two-finger scrolling and everything. The interface runs just as smoothly as the phone itself, and is great for browsing content on the big screen, writing texts, or showing some pictures when you don't have your PC around. While it's of course not a fully featured PC, it works so well that I can see myself using this in a pinch for sure. The Edge 30 Pro has two 50-megapixel cameras, one of them being an ultra-wide sensor. The third camera is one of those superfluous depth cameras. The camera has never really been the strongest point of Moto phones, and while this one is quite good, it's still not groundbreaking. I'm especially not the biggest fan of the color science, which is not only a bit unnatural, but also rather dull compared to other phones. The pictures are sharp enough though, and they have good dynamic range. There's also lots of natural depth of field. Don't get me wrong, in good light this camera is great, like basically every other phone you can buy. But in more challenging lighting the weaknesses do start to show. So photographing your dinner late at night might not show it from its tastiest side. The ultra-wide sensor is also significantly less capable than the main one, and even struggles with color in great lighting. The 60-megapixel selfie camera is very good I find, though it shares the same color issues as the ones on the back. Video at up to 4K 60 or 8K 30 is sharp and the stabilization is also good, but again, those colors just need some work. Battery life on the Edge 30 Pro is really good. I got through 1.5 days without a problem. 6 to 7 hours of screen on time are really quite good. The 4800 mAh battery probably won't die even at the end of a very long and intense day, and that's greatly appreciated after the Edge 20 series went for more thinness rather than capacity. What I really like though is the charging speed and how Motorola has approached fast charging in general. No, it's not 89 watts, unlike what it might seem like from this side, but the 68 watt fast charging is still right up there with the best phones out right now. You can fully charge it in just about 30 minutes and get 20% back in just about 5. So in combination with the good battery life, it's no problem to top this phone up for a whole day while taking a quick shower. And the best thing is that unlike with basically all other manufacturers, the standard isn't proprietary. It uses standard USB PD, so you can fast charge the phone with a laptop charger, a USB-C monitor, or even the 65 watt laptop power bank. That's something that I haven't seen before and a great addition. And of course, the phone's charger can also charge your laptop. And in addition to all of this, there's also wireless charging and reverse wireless charging. I'm really surprised by how much I love this phone. I had somewhat tempered expectations in regards to some aspects, just because build quality, for example, hasn't traditionally been a strong point for Motorola. But now they finally fixed all of these small things like the vibration motor and buttons that took away from the experience before. Okay, except for the higher IP certification. And they did that while making a phone that just screams performance. It's super fast with the newest CPU and stock Android, and also has the battery life and fast charging to back that power up. It's a phone that doesn't only finally feel like a flagship to use, but also one that in some ways is actually a better experience than others. Only the camera is an area where just throwing better hardware at the problem unfortunately doesn't quite cut it. It's really unfortunate that this phone flies under the radar. It really should be on yours. The performance is unmatched, it's one of only very few devices that still run a super smooth build off stock Android, and the ways in which Motorola approach things like charging and the desktop interface are not only unique, but actually really useful in their implementation. Of course, the strong point of a Pixel is its camera, which this one can't quite match, but in all other ways this even beats a Pixel and should thus definitely be worth your consideration. I just think that the price might be a bit high in some markets compared to the other options you have. If you enjoyed this video, you know which buttons to press, and don't forget to press that follow button on Twitter. I'm Brian, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.